Good evening, friends!
Good evening and welcome to the first service of 2022. As tradition, our medium this evening is our very own Rev Nick Brown. So would you please open our service with a prayer?
I certainly will.
Followed by your address.
Of course. See, she likes to prepare me and remind me of what I'm supposed to be doing because she knows how forgetful I can be. Good evening, 2022 across the world! We are back, we are live, please do not swear. Welcome to everyone here live in the Village Hall. Welcome to everyone at home watching. For those that have seen the internet, there was a little bit of a stopgap between services with my annual Christmas Day Queen's Alternative speech. I believe Tom Daly stole my idea because I've been doing it longer than him. And of course, we had our first philosophy service between churches, myself, Reverend Tony, Jean and Irene up north there. We had the first of what is going to be a series of philosophical evenings of chat. There is another one coming, more details to follow. I even did the poster and artwork for him, so we're ready for that. So 2022 is a year with plenty to do and plenty to look forward to. And of course, when you've got plenty to do and plenty to look forward to, especially in a format and an evening like this, we begin by opening in prayer. As we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, we thank you for the opportunity to come together to unite as friends under your banner of love and friendship. We ask for a blessing to be placed on each person here present and all those watching and all those who will watch, and all of the friends and families that they represent. And we ask that the veil be lifted, and those that we love and thought we had lost move forward and join and blend with us this night, so that we may prove the truth that life is indeed eternal. And as we place this service in your care and keeping, Great Spirit, we make the statement as ever, that everything we do is in the name of love, in the name of truth, and in the name of light. Amen.
Amen.
Well, friends, we talk about things to look forward to, but we also have things to catch up on. For example, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, and I'm sure some of you have, some of you haven't, but we've just done a prayer, and today the subject of prayer was discussed at length by our principal minister on Facebook, so have a look on there. It's on a YouTube channel as well. I will be catching up later because I know that when you've watched that, not only will you have had upliftment, laughter and facts, but as the title says, you'll know to whom and to where those prayers are going. And that's all I know about it because I genuinely have not watched it yet. So I'm honest. And you know what? Honesty is always the best policy. And I think when it comes to this way of life, it's equally important to be honest with not just the world, because we know as spiritualists, we are open and honest about the need for proof, about the honesty and need to show that when we are demonstrating, sometimes we have a bit of a bad day because we forget to say those magic words that I was taught in development. We let the troubles of the day slip away. And sometimes we forget to say that. And then the troubles of the day start interfering. Because no matter what happens, the troubles of the day always kick in. But of course, there's one person that we always forget to mention when we talk about honesty. Ourselves. We must be equally honest with ourselves about our fears, about our doubts, about our hopes and our dreams and our aspirations for the future. We've talked a lot over the last few weeks as a society about the direction we're going in, about what it is we plan for the future. And I've been chatting with quite a few people over the last few weeks. I've been chatting with loads of people, in fact. And in actual fact, I've been invited to sit in on a trance seance from Reverend Alan Acton, which I know Lynn has spoken about again in one of her videos. And he asked me if I would like to go along, and yes, I would. Because there are still things about spiritualism that I don't know much about. Because every day is a learning day, and there is always something new to learn. Now, I am reminded by my friends and helpers in the world of spirit, as I frequently am, you've spoken about this at length in the past, about learning and about knowing the difference between someone who purports to know everything and someone who's constantly free and open to new learnings and new developments. I don't think our principal minister will mind me saying this, but she's been a medium for a number of years now. Well, I mean, she started teaching me 20 years ago, so she must be in her 30s and started when she was about 2 or 3. But the point is, as much as she's been in this way of life for years, she still learns something new every day. We all learn something new every day, a new perspective, a new message, a new way of communication that helps us and guides us and directs us. Before this service, I was talking to my niece, who's getting married soon. It was really quite exciting. And she was talking about the music, the options that she had to leave. And I'm not going to talk about them now because it's private, but the song does come into my head quite a lot at the moment. So you never know, it might come up later. But I'm hoping that the 21st really will be a nice day for a white wedding. But the point is this, it reminded me about something that I often share with people that I talk to in my day-to-day life, that we tend to forget to mention in services. Because you might think, oh, well, it's not something that everybody knows about. Well, that's exactly the time to talk about it, my friends. Sharing is caring, after all. Throughout history, people have found ways to channel information from the world of spirit. And spirit have found ways to use our daily lives to channel information to us when they think we are not listening. Once upon a time, you would throw chicken bones and stones onto the floor to interpret the shapes. But you know what? We developed, we grew, we got better. And we found that the written word was as equally useful. So we would open books to get a message, to get guidance. And spirit would inspire those messages of guidance depending on what page we open. They would know what page we are going to open because they would stop us at the right time. Of course, we then grew and progressed even further, where people have started creating books just for that exact purpose. And then we grew even further than that. And we started turning on the radio to hear a song playing. And that song would be the message for us. Now, I've spoken about a wedding. And interestingly enough, someone came to me earlier and said, do you want George on the table tonight, or are you in a hurry to get home and have things a little bit more minimalist tonight? And I said, no, I want George there. And I didn't know why I'd said that. But of course, I always want George here, and I know that George is here whether we put his candle out or not. But I'm reminded that that musical interlude was something that George and his friends and helpers made use of the day that I went over to perform his service. Now, George, for those that did not know, had a sense of humour, a naughty sense of humour, I will add. And he knew about the listening to music before he'd even passed. And I said, on the way, there was me and Mum and Dad. Dad was driving as usual. Mum was saying, let's turn the radio on and see if we can get a message from George about how today's going to go. And they turned the radio on, and the first message was all about angels. And I said, I want a message about how I'm going to get on today and about what today is all about. Turn the radio over. So we changed the channel. And the very first words we heard, bear in mind that this was a personal message from George to me, were these. I went down and the flames went higher. It burns, 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 the ring of fire. Of course, I was performing his cremation service. And the fact that he timed it, that we were then pulling into the crematorium, would have been seen as quite naughty. But to George, it would have been hilarious. I know this because it was him that did it. Now we can progress even further, because the world of spirits are clever and can make use of any sort of technology, any position we put ourselves in. An advert on the internet, a video pops up on YouTube. You've seen them all stick up on your machine. Even deciding to sit down and watch a movie, you can get the information you need when spirit think you need a reminder. Because spirit are always there, watching, guiding, directing, and finding new ways to reach out into the world. If that's what they're going to do, we need to do the same thing. We cannot rest on our laurels. We cannot sit on our backsides and expect everything to rock on progressively as a grand clockwork machine. We must always find new and innovative ways to reach out into the world on behalf of the spirit world, on behalf of ourselves, the living spirit. That is the purpose and the need of progress. Eternal progress, open to us all. So friends, as we look forward into 2022, let's not just get excited about what kind of good year it can be. Let's decide to make it a good year. Let's decide what we're going to do about it. Because as much as prayers are asking for help, we must remember that we have a responsibility, a personal responsibility, to help make those prayers come true. Because as we always say, and as I am reminded, even my guides sit there and say, oh, here we go again. They're good like that. We know in the Lord's Prayer, we say, on earth as it is in heaven. We're asking for help to make that happen, which means we have to take responsibility, some responsibility for making it happen. So just as we choose to flip a page or turn on a radio or turn on a movie, we also have to make plans. We also have to get up and be counted. We also have to do something so that spirit can stop us at the right time, move us forward at the right time, give us the direction we need at the right time. Because it's symbiotic, one and the other working in union in order to improve the world and build a world that we can all be proud of. As someone said to me earlier on, it's about making contingency plans to pass things on in the right way. We need to do that every single day of our lives, not for ourselves, but for the generations that follow. Because if we want spiritualism to carry on, to move forward, to be bold and outlast everything else, we have to give that good foundation. There's no point building it on running sand. Although having said that, Ely Cathedral's done pretty good on running sand for several thousand years. So maybe a movable, steady flowing foundation is not such a bad thing after all. I found spiritualism to be just that. It's open and welcoming to all. Because just as I said at the beginning, every day is a learning day, and we've all got something new to learn and share with ourselves and each other every day. That's the point of spiritualism. Sharing, caring, and moving forward. God bless you all. Thank you for listening. And I'll now hand back to the chair.
Alan, are you there?
I am, Linda.
How are you?
Yes, I'm very good, and may I take this opportunity to wish everybody in the hall, everybody watching, those that will watch, a very happy new year.
And back to you, Alan.
I do have a reading. I think Nick's going to love this one. we will see. It's called A Brand New Start by Gillion. God sometimes brings us to a place where answers can't be found, where we cannot see tomorrow for confusion all around. Yet deep inside we realize that all things work for good, even times when we've been wounded and we feel misunderstood. Don't dwell on the injustice and stay focused on God's heart. Find forgiveness and go on. You can make a brand new start. Thank you.
That's lovely, Alan. I know I'm not the chair and I know I'm interfering, but I really did love it, so thank you.
Okay, that's not a problem.
Thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. And hope to see you all soon.
I'm sure we will.
Very soon, I hope.
Who knows, Linda? Who knows?
You take care.
And you.
God bless.
God bless.
Bless.
Right then, Nick. Could we have a healing, please?
Could we have some healing? I think we definitely want some healing. Trace, thank you. See, the one thing about having Mother as the chair when I'm the medium is that she reminds me of all the things that I'm supposed to say. For those that know, an update. For those that don't know, information. So one of our very good dear friends and members of this church had an operation late in last year. Was it the knee or the hip? It was the hip. Well, it's one way or the other. I'm only 2 foot either way. She had a new hip, and all was going well, but unfortunately she had a bit of a tumble. So she's a bit battered and a bit bruised and a bit low. So
stitches on it across the eyes.
Stitches across her eyes. So please send your healing thoughts to Tracy, and of course to Stephen, who will be nursemaid, I'm sure. And if you're not Stephen, then why not? Also, I would like to once again ask for healing for Reverend Barbara, who's still recovering from her own tumble and breakage. I'd also like to ask for healing for Reverend Jeanette, who's been quite poorly. And I would also, I had a message earlier on about asking for healing for Simon and his family. So if you could all send that direction too. And of course, to anyone you know who is in need of healing. So please, let's all join together and send out our thoughts to everyone we know are in need. We will begin with the healing prayer and end with the word, Amen. Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, here we bring unto you all those who are sick and suffering and are in need of comfort, be they sick in mind, body, or spirit, that it may please thee to heal them. This we ask for those we know, those we do not know, and those who have no one to ask for them. We ask for them now. Amen.
Amen.
Right then, Nick. Could we have your mediumship, please?
You certainly can.
I don't think you'll need that.
Well, you never know. People get grumpy if I don't. Well, good evening, friends, and welcome back to Littleport Village Hall. It's a pleasure to see you all here. It's a pleasure to be here. In a world where everything is slightly untoward and uncertain at the moment, it's good to have a sanctuary of stability, a sanctuary of light to call home, at least on a Thursday night. And for everyone who is now watching late because they've decided to watch the new series of Dragon's Den or The Apprentice, I'm waiting to watch it on playback, so can you. I'm only kidding, of course. The first thing I am going to do is remind everybody, especially and including myself, should you have mobile telephones, please make sure they're on silent or vibrate, and I'll do the same. Because we don't want the messages coming through these things, we want them coming through spirit. And those pings can be quite frustrating sometimes if you can figure out how to turn them off. There we go, that's better. Of course, I have to be careful because the Wi-Fi also runs through the mobile, so I don't want to switch it off by accident. Friends, thank you. When it comes to communication of the world of spirit, I know, well, I think most of you will all see me working, but those at home might not have done. Interestingly enough, the one person who went, is the person that I know I'm going to first, because I was reminded that apart from in Development Circle, I've never actually given her a message publicly, I understand. I don't think about it, but Cathy, could I come to you? There you go. See, I would have assumed that I had done, but they said, you've never given her a message publicly before. I think it's about time. Go to the lady in pink. And I'm like, oh, that's more. There you go. I'm aware of a gentleman, and as I link in with him, I was instantly made aware of a really, really sore head. And it felt like an impact on the side. Really quite painful, actually. So I wonder if it may have been something to do with either a condition that affected him badly or a condition of passing. But I'm very much aware, and I feel like it was a nasty crunch. That's the feeling I get. And he's obviously got some kind of, I say loosely, some kind of sense of humor, because he laughed at the word crunch. I do feel he's the kind of person that would have been amused by strange words in strange places. Thank you. I'm told strange things in strange places, not just words. So I do feel that he was somewhat of a character, and was amused by things that wouldn't necessarily be seen as normally amusing stuff. I'm reminded, of course, that you have a habit of that. So, but other than that, as far as the emotional connection to you, I do feel quite strongly for you, but I do feel a huge chasm between you as well. So normally, I would say that that's somebody who is a friend, who would have been a distant relative. But I don't, because I keep feeling my wedding ring being tapped. So I feel family connection. So that chasm of difference would have been about personality and personal interaction, not distance physically or time. But nonetheless, he's telling me, thank you. He wants to bring the fun in, because whenever he's spoken to you from spirit, it's always been very serious. And oh, thank you. I'm reminded that I was talking about a time for progressing forward. Thank you. What he is saying to me is that the past has been about building up the opportunity. What has been said and done in the past was necessary and appropriate and right, but you can't Thank you. You can't spend the rest of your life apologizing. You have to move forward and do something about it physically. He says, you understand that. And he says, now I do. I don't know whether this is... take it away, thank you. It's bad enough on that shoulder as it is. I don't know whether this is another condition with him or you, but I'm just being made aware that the bone that I broke in my collarbone is really aching. So I'm actually inclined to think that you've been aching quite heavily in this area too.
Yes, I went through a lamppost when I was training for London Marathon, trying to pull out crunch.
I didn't know about that.
Yes.
There you go. That is. Do you know what I love about Spirit is that they will give you stuff you haven't got a clue about. Because of course there was a number of. Thank you. Thank you for the reminder. I've just been reminded of the first time I made contact with yourself and Lynn after you left Littleport for the first time before you came back. And I hadn't thought about that in years. And I was actually on holiday somewhere, either in Wales or the South Coast, I can't remember which, but I was stood in a stone circle. All the myth and the mystery and the magic, and I was inspired to pick up the phone and think, I hope they haven't changed their number. Beep. And he's saying, you understand this feeling regarding certain people in your life, that you're worried that the numbers have changed because you haven't been in touch so long. And he's saying, it was like that with us. Don't do it again. An interesting way. He was actually really, really quite clever when he was switched on. I mean, really, really sneaky. And able to manipulate sounds wrong because it applies to the negative side. But he was able to manipulate the situation for positive reasons too. When he felt like it. And that was from him, not me. When I felt like it. And he's saying, you know, that ability to deep think never escaped the change of generations. He says, it's not my place, but I need to start moving forward to giving you some guidance of what I've seen you up to lately. And please remember, you take it or leave it, but it is given, I do know, with love. He's saying, but your abilities are far more superior than you give yourself credit for. And because you're constantly doing yourself down, you think everyone else is doing you down. So you strike back.
Yeah, that's true.
Stop it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he does actually feel not quite partly, but significantly responsible for that kind of feeling. So please, please, please stop striking out at others because they actually believe in you more than you do. Start believing it, and perhaps you'll feel a little bit more happier with the world and yourself. He's making me aware. What was that? I had a sudden twanging in my back. I hope I'm still standing up, so I'm sure it's spirit. But I felt a sudden twang in my back as if to say, you know, everything's starting to creak and go. I do feel that this was how he was towards the end of his life as well, because it's as though he was very spry and very fit, and then suddenly everything started dropping off. So, but towards the end of his life, everything was starting to drop off, he's saying. And those are his exact words. Everything was... Right, okay, maybe that's for you then. But I do feel for him, it's as though bits and pieces of him and his life were falling off progressively towards the end of his life. And I do feel that sense of building loss. And it was almost like he was consumed by a sense of impending doom. And he says, once you see that darkness, it's hard to fight back. So always remember, Okay. I'm reminded of a really, really old saying that I've used a couple of times lately because it's been appropriate, and he's reminding me of this. But he's using it as a positive rather than a negative. He says, when you see a light at the end of the tunnel, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a train coming towards you. It can be the end of the tunnel. So head towards it, because the other side of the tunnel is a new world, a new life, you know, and a new experience to explore. And you've got plenty of experiences to explore. Now, I've just been made very much aware that I've been locked eye to eye with you throughout this whole message, because he's just kind of increased the bubble. We would have probably got on a lot better if I knew what I knew now. But thank you for having some faith in me anyway. And I don't know what that means, but I'm hoping you do. But thank you for having some faith in me anyway. In fact, what he's saying to me, okay, there were times that you were perhaps the only one saying anything slightly positive about me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's really true.
So thank you. Thank you. Okay. This is specifically a message for you, but also by means of highlighting his humor as well as giving you a deeper message. He's saying, don't get too big-headed. It's not because you knew you were right about me. It's because you knew you were right about them and what they could make happen. So thank you for having faith in them being able to get through to me. And I'm very much aware that he struggled to say that because he suddenly took my breath away. And it's as though for a long time, part of that process was having the wind taken out of his sails. He says, well, that may be so, but splice the main brace, up the sails, onward. Wow, thank you. Oh, he's spliced the main brace, up the sails. Because he was saying, say something about boats, for God's sake. And that was his humour. He said, just say something about boats, for God's sake. Be as poetic as you like. But say something about boats. So I had to get that in. So thank you. You know, well, you know I didn't, but I'm just going to say, he was full of useless information. And I asked him what parting gesture he would like to give. And suddenly I was overwhelmed by this whole ream of ideas on what he was going to say. And it really is quite a long-winded way of giving you a gift, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's brilliant. He says, my candle burns at both ends. It shines a lovely light, but oh my word and oh my Lord, it will not last the night. Emily Dickinson, the poems. That's part one. He would also like you to know that every Emily Dickinson poem can also be sung in tune to the Yellow Rose of Texas, because his parting gift is a yellow rose.
Thank you.
And so he was full of long-winded ways of telling things, I'm sure, because that was just really quite complex ways. But he didn't want to just turn around and say, give him a yellow rose to share between the two of them, because he is on a bit of a budget up there. So it's a shared. This is your dad, isn't it? Because he hasn't really revealed that to me. I think it's because I know some things, but he didn't want me to, because he's learned up here.
I could be 67 on Sunday, and he passed when he was 67.
Well, I'm not ready for you yet, girl, so don't worry. Some things don't run in the family. He says, you got a lot off me, but not that. But yeah, share the yellow rose. And also test it out. Emily Dickinson, any poem written by Emily Dickinson can be sung to the Yellow Rose of Texas.
She was my favourite poet.
Ah, there we are. Oh, okay. What are those? Right, okay. He says this is kind of a flower, but not. But just another reminder. Thank you. Capers. They're flowers. They're pickled nasturtium buds. So there we go. And I'll say,
Thank you so much.
God bless.
God bless you. Take it out for dinner.
Posh dinner, so it would be capers all round you. Pickled nasturtium buds. There we go. God bless you. Have a yellow rose sprinkled with pickled nasturtium buds. The things they give you. God bless. Right. Okay. Thank you. You can't get rid. Oh, he's just like you. You can't get rid of him because you just tell her about last Wednesday and how funny it was. Oh, okay. Whatever you do, you're Cathy. Anything you do on your rounds is going to be funny. So that's not evidence. Thank you. Okay. Bless him. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I've just had a lady step forward and she said, how's about a change of pace, my dear? And she is so much more subdued and more relaxed and much more peaceful and calm and cuddly. I'm being, thank you, I'm being made aware that she had a love of fragrances. She said, oh, a good old squirt could cover up a multitude of sins, especially the animals. So I do feel that she had animals. I'm not seeing what yet. I know she liked this squirty fragrance. Warm, cuddly, lovely lady. I'm feeling grandmotherly with her, but I don't necessarily believe that this lady was the person she's communicating with grandmother. I feel she was a grandmother, but I believe she was actually a mother to the person that I'm coming to. But she preferred, thank you. She preferred to be remembered as that grandmotherly character rather than the motherly character because she has got a naughty sense of humor. You can give them back and you can be a lot more naughty and less of a disciplinarian when you're a grandmother rather than a mother. May I come to you? Would you understand this lady in this description? And would you understand that this is mum and that she preferred being grandma because she could be naughty? She says, but the wonderful, oh, bless her. The wonderful thing, as good a discipline and problems with her teeth as well, false teeth probably. I always start tripping over language when they have false teeth. The wonderful thing about watching you is that you learn from that and realize that you can be a bit naughty as mum as well. And she says, I'm overjoyed. Absolutely overjoyed. I do feel that the reason behind that is because she was perhaps somewhat too much of a disciplinarian sometimes when playing mum. And so that sometimes there was a very marked difference between those two sides of her personalities. When you saw her being grandmotherly, there was a pang of, why couldn't she?
Overcompensating for my dad because my dad was very strict.
Yes. So that side of it, you can't get away with that. No, apparently I have to say it. It is what it, I hate that phrase. It is what happened. It's done. I hate it. I really don't like giving that as a phrase at all because I believe that we always have the opportunity to make a change. and we have some influence on our lives. But that's just me. I give what she says, not what I feel. Oh, here we go with the ear bending. She said, well, quite right too. Otherwise, there'd be no point. It'd be you up here talking about what you think, and there'd be no evidence, no proof, no truth, all this stuff that you go on about. So she loved challenging. Thank you. That she's doing this. She loved challenging people, but she specifically loved challenging authority figures and anyone who wore something like this. She loved having deep and meaningfuls. And she just grabbed me elbow and she said, I'm only kidding, son. I think you and me would have got on all right most of the time. And I do feel we would have done. But that's because I don't feel like an authority figure or someone with a great deal of knowledge. I'm just someone passing on messages and sharing what I've learned about the world. But she's saying that that's what's needed. That's what you needed. And that's what you found many years ago to take you on the path that you went on. And she was also a bit naughty from time to time, because she was just trying to have a bit of a flirt with me. I'll be honest about it. She was trying to have a bit of a flirt with me. And I do feel that she had this slightly wicked fun side that everybody enjoyed. But she also had this sting in the tail, because she just turned around and said, wasting her time with you though, weren't I? But I do feel that she was very, for all of her difficulties in life, she was actually extremely progressive in her attitudes. Of course, but I know quite a few homophobic spiritualists. She wouldn't have been. She was quite open to live your life the way you are happy to live it, whatever you were made to be. She wouldn't have been one of these people who say, well, if it floats your boat, whatever. She would have said, whatever you were made to be is what matters. And that is a very, 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 to the outsider, a very subtle difference, but to anyone in the know, it's a very, very wide difference. And she did look at the world with a very, very wide difference to those around her of her time. She would have easily fit in modern society with her attitudes, which meant that sometimes she didn't fit in very well with her own generation, because she would be, I was talking tonight about moving forward, about progression, about making changes. She was something of an inspiration behind that with the group that were working behind me to provide that update, because she was extremely progressive. She was extreme. There go the teeth again. You know, this is the thing about her, though. She would be getting right into it, and just as she was about to say something really important, they'd go flying. And that was exactly the way it was. You know, she was extremely pushing forward in the world and extremely motivated to bring people forward, but then she'd whack you in the forehead with your teeth. But it was funny. It was just funny. And she would use humor to lighten the situation as well. She would use a firm grip when it was needed, but she could use humor instead. She was much happier because she got to take the moral high road. And there's nothing more she loved than taking the moral high road. In actual fact, there's the Scottish connection. I'll take the high road and you take the low road, and I'll just do everything else before you because you can't be bothered. And this was her sense of humor. And she was so uplifting for that. And there was nothing more she loved than nurturing the next generation. Not just in her worldly life and interactions, but within family, including and not excluding, teaching naughty things to the grandkids that mother used to do to wind her up, so that she could get her own back through the next generation, which once again could be quite frustrating. But she says, it's fine, I don't mind, it's all part of life, and you accept that now too. And if you don't, that's just tough. And I do feel that she could be she was quite sassy, because there's this, about her. And it's just such fun to interact with her. And I know you're mediumistic. I know you have contact with her. She's telling me that she tries to make contact more than you actually listen, but that's just life. But whenever you pick her up, you do get this sass, because I do feel do you know what? She really could move her hips, especially in her younger days. She says, she's reminded me of a phrase that I was taught by my principal minister, that I've used on more than one occasion, but she's using that to remind me now. I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. She says, there's actually some really nice snazzy pictures of me. I could have done it, I could have been, but she chose a different path. She wants you to know that she was happy with the path that life took her on, as well as the choices she made, because they were hers. The only things that she didn't like were when the choices were taken away from her. However, when those choices were taken away from her, there were some people making sure that those choices made would have been what she wanted. She also recognizes that when those choices were made that she wouldn't have wanted, they were about what she needed instead. She would say, forgiven, but there's nothing to forgive. And you know that. As she starts to move away now, she brings back, she says, right, that's that moment. We all have to have that serious moment of good behavior. Stuff it, I'm done with that now. She's back to sass, and she gives a little hip wiggle again, and she's back to sassiness. And it's really not the kind of person that first came through, but she's gotten used to me now, so she feels a little bit more happy to be herself that she would have been in private, because there were two very different sides to her. There was the public, there was the private, and only those that knew her really well got to see the private. Okay. Which is why as she leaves, okay. I said, what do you want to give as a parting gift? I like the flower thing. I've always done it. It was something that I was brought up with in this way of life, and I think it appropriate way to end. And she said, give her a lily pad. Because when you look down on people, and when you look down on a lily pad, you can see beauty, freshness, life. Look beneath the surface. It's a tangled mess in the dark, deep sea, but never mind, it keeps everything turning. And that's her message as part of that parting gift. So I'll give you a lily pad with a beautiful lotus on top. And I'll say, God bless you, and thank you for working. Quick rinse. Lovely stuff. No, it's not gin.
You got good hearing.
Do you know, it's actually really quite funny, because I always tell those in circle and development and workshops to watch the medium, see how much water they drink. So I think I've allowed myself an extra sip. I actually got into the habit of taking turns, so I'd do a message, have a sip, take a message, have a sip, just to cleanse the palate. And it's a bit like when you get someone really, really spicy through, you have to have a sip of water to cleanse the palate so that you're ready for the next flavor to come through. And when it comes to flavors and taste, thank you. everything that I say always ends. Oh, thank you, dear. Hello, everybody at home. I'm back. When it comes to flavour and taste, yes. When it comes to what I'm saying between messages, there's always a theme drawn that's going to be part of that particular message. Yeah, I'm still on the edge. Keep coming, you're fine. There you go. I can see myself. Isn't that sweet? This person that I've got coming through is really excitable about everything. Everything's a miracle. Everything's wonderful. Wasn't always like that in life, but I'm also reminded that we change our perspective a little bit as we progress in the world of spirit, but not enough so that we wouldn't recognize the person. But this excitability, oh, look at that, what's that? Oh, what's that? Always wanting to draw knowledge in, but also that talk about flavors, the cooking. My word, she could rustle up a good one. And I'm smelling the breads and the cakes, but also the stews and the meats. And it's making me hungry, actually, reminding me I haven't eaten. Would you understand a lady like this? That's fine. It's all right. Thank you.
I know.
Hello. Hey, yeah. I will say, this lady, if it's your grandmother, she was extremely serious when she needed to be and would be very arms crossed. You didn't mess with her, you didn't interrupt her, you didn't annoy her in any way, because she would turn on a sixpence like she just did, with all that excitement about life and wonder and flavour, and then somebody was talking over her and about her and she didn't like it. Would you understand that as your grandmother?
Well, I'd like to, but obviously, I was young at the time, I didn't know all the characteristics.
Would you remember much about her? Have you talked about her in the past? That sort of thing, stories that get carried over. Oh. Well, in that case, I can tell you that this definitely is your grandmother anyway, and that this is exactly what she was like. But as much as I hate being a carrier bag medium, it does serve its purposes sometimes. Is there someone you can ask about her?
Yeah.
In that case, so long as it's safe to do so and be subtle about it, just ask about this. Love, it was the technology that really enthralled her, that was drawing her away. So I do feel that she would have been of a generation where lots of progresses were made with technology anyway. Some people would have just accepted it. She was really excited about it and wanted to know the ins and outs of a duck's bottom. So you can ask about that. But also, you can ask about this particular personality trait of hating being spoken over and about. I do feel that you, in particular, hate being spoken about. So it is definitely a characteristic that's jumped generations. But actually, I feel that your mother was really... Your mum is the person you can ask, I take it. Because I feel this is mum's mum. Okay. Because I see the three females running down the generations, you see. Your mother also despises being interrupted, being spoken about. Who are they to talk about me? I was walking down the street and I heard them talking about me. And it would have been perfectly innocent. But she still didn't like being the subject of conversation. Would you understand that about... Because you're exactly the same again.
Yes.
It's fine.
Sorry if I'm being a bit vague.
No, you're fine. You don't know the information.
No.
But the point is, you can now ask about it. Because what I've found is that when you don't know the information, there is evidence. Because do you know what? Learning time, friends. There are those of the detractors of this way of life who would say that if we're not making it and faking it, we're reading people's minds. What baloney is that? Firstly, if I could read people's minds, I'd be at a casino raking it in nicely. Secondly, if you don't know the information personally, I can't be reading your mind. So there is that opportunity to check that information. I will just finish up with what she wants to say to you. Please let me know when we see each other. I will be ringing you in the week, apparently. Oh yeah. She was very much an organizer as well, because she's saying, don't forget you need to ring her in the week. You did promise. There'll be more. There'll probably be more from me once you've identified me. It's funny because she was a real talker. I do feel that she wouldn't let other people get their oar in. And I know you come across as quiet and meek and mild, but once you get going, there's no interrupting you. See? There you go. Something I've learnt about you today that I didn't know. She said you should hear her. You should hear her in her personal circles. 10 to the dozen, rattling away. But it's It's really actually quite important, and it's not a joke, because the problem is you've got so much in your head that you need to get it out before you think it's going to disappear, and you want it out there and you want it said before you forget it because you think it's important. And she said, good on you, love. She says exactly what I was like. And there is this slight austerity about her. I will say that there was this slight air of mystery about this lady. Thank you. Would you be aware that she and your mum did not always see eye to eye?
No, I wouldn't be aware of that. No.
Right.
But that's possible, yeah.
Yeah, because what she's telling me is that there wasn't always the happy agreements between the two, because your mum is a very strong personality who's very about wanting her own thing and her own way. There we go. Yeah, but it's exactly the same relationship. It's exactly the same relationship. And she's saying, there you are, you're saying, oh, my God, that's really, really difficult. Imagine how I felt. I was supposed to be in charge. But nonetheless, there is a possession of your grandmother's that your mother has. It's a piece of jewelry. It's either a necklace or a brooch. I can see some sort of flower shape around here. That occasionally will be picked up and held and fond memories shared. Please pass on that I can feel those fond memories being shared in her thoughts, and say it wasn't all that bad all the time. And the same can be said for you and your mother. Deep down, in spite of the differences of opinion, there's still passion, love and warmth. And that passion, love, those three things are the three pillars of a good foundation. Okay. Okay. It's funny how I was talking right at the very beginning about how spirit can use the TV to give us messages. I said, what would you like to give as a parting gesture? And she just showed me Charlie Dimmock. And I went, that's not a flower. But then she turned around and she said, no, you were watching her last night. What did glow at you on the TV? And I said, I remember now. Lily of the Valley. And I will give you that as your parting gesture. There we go. So she's watching, she knows, and she used Charlie Dimmock. There you go. That's how interfering in other people's lives she can be. She can make use of Charlie Dimmock on TV. Just like you, in the good sense. So start letting everyone else get it. Rattle away, because people are more interested in what you've got to say than you think. she says, and I'll say, God bless. And I believe I've hit my time, haven't I? Because I've been gabbing on all night. Are you sure? Okay. I don't want to get told off for overrunning. You won't invite me back. Okay. Thank you. I'm speaking of talking 10 to the dozen. I'm aware of a gentleman that would have done exactly that. Oh, I love it when this happens. For those that, oh, hello, there you go. He was a bit turned around sometimes, a bit absent-minded and a bit dotty, because I was just like, where am I? This gentleman was one of those ones that would talk 10 to the dozen as well. But also, for those that, thank you, he would jump subjects as well, because I'm getting mixed up with my words, so follow the train if you can. When you first link in and start feeling the physical appearance, the physical impression of the person, you feel like you're slimming down. And it's wonderful, because you know that in a few minutes when that message is over, you're going to put it all back on again and be, yeah, it's lovely. But for that brief moment, this gentleman was very wiry, very slight, svelte. Oh, thank you. He loved his words, because I'm saying svelte. It's not the kind of word that I would use. Bit of a naughty sense of humour, but didn't show it to everybody. But not naughty like anybody else we've had tonight. It was clever naughty. He would try and catch people out. He would poke fun at people. So that was a bit naughty, actually. But he liked to test people as well, to see how much they knew. I feel like a friend, but in some senses more than a friend. And I feel very emotional. Louise, can I come to you? Yeah. I'm just trying to think. This is not someone who was family. This is an acquaintance, someone that you would have known. I feel doubly emotional connecting to you, because I can feel my chest pounding in excitement, but I also feel that it's a condition of passing. This gentleman was exceptionally knowledgeable, exceptionally clever, would try and catch people out with clever word plays and his knowledge, but he liked to share his knowledge as well. He was very giving with his information, very giving with his knowledge, and very kind-hearted, if not somewhat frustrating from time to time, because you could never get away from him.
I can understand the personality, but the physical description I can't take.
Right, okay.
The personality of
Would you understand that I'm describing him in his youth rather than perhaps when you knew him?
Possibly.
Right. Would you understand that I'm a little bit shorter than me?
Yeah.
I'd say it'd be about eye level with me, I would say.
Yeah.
But that's if he was stooped down, so he might have been about the same height as me. I do feel that he did stoop a lot and he did have problems, but he didn't want help and he didn't want support. He was very independent and very stubborn.
Yeah.
But that was just him, and it kind of loved him for it. It was kind of a love-hate thing. You loved it, but it was also frustrating because he could have had more support and more help, but he just refused it because he was so independently stubborn. Would you also... Thank you. it's strange. I've never seen or felt this before, but you would have been quite concerned about him for quite a while because he would be wandering around and turning up with bruises here and bashes there and nicks and cuts all over the place because he was starting to get so unsteady on his feet. He would be tripping and falling all over the place.
Yeah, he lived in a bungalow with terrible subsidence.
Oh.
Kitchen floors.
So you would understand that he is aware that he probably should have listened because you did tell him quite firmly that he should get more help and support and look after himself a bit better, and it felt like he would give you the brush off.
Maybe some, other people.
Yeah, it was almost as though your concerns were a secondary interference. But he's saying, I didn't feel like that. I was just trying to reassure you and myself that everything was fine. He really just wants to come forward to say hello and I'm all right. Because although there were times when he could say things quite profound, most of the time he just wanted to talk. And talk about anything, just to see you and say hi and how are the kids and what's been going on with you. He wants to do that, he says, but he doesn't need to anymore because he knows what's with you. He knows how the kids are. In actual fact, thank you. I'm being told that there have been occasions, because I do feel you still pass by wherever it was you knew him from. Oh, there are times you catch him out the corner of your eye.
Near where I live, and I have to pass it to go home.
Ah.
So I look at his house.
Oh. Oh, bless. So he's very much aware that you still think of him. Oh. Thank you. And as he gives me the last piece of information, I now realise that I knew him too.
I've realised that I was getting with there's two neighbours that are exactly the same, but now you've said that, I know who that,
Because
that matches this interference as well.
Because his last words to you, and wow, he says, when you thought I was looking at you, when you saw that thought in my eyes, I meant it. Thank you. And the description is, he says, thank you. That's all I can say. And that's all I can ever say. And I'll say, God bless you. And in his tradition, now I know who he is and he's having even more fun. He says, I'm still checking your spellings. And I'll say, God bless you. And I'll say, God bless you and thank you. Is absent-mindedness taking over, parting gesture. He's saying, I'm not going to give you a flower because they wilt and die. He says, I'm going to give you a pen because our words will last forever. And I will say, God bless you. God bless you all and thank you. And he really does say, I'll still be checking your spellings. Wow. I'd never expected to get him through. Thank you.
He lives a few doors down. He lived a few doors down. And the gentleman that I was thinking of lives a few doors down.
I see. So you got a double bubble.
So, and their personalities was very similar. But then I was thinking this person, but not that. And then when you said, well, that matches him completely with the influence as well.
Oh, bless you. So I didn't know how. I knew that you were with him, but I didn't know how. I thought he fell and injured himself.
He did.
Oh, did he?
But then we picked him up, and then he died when I saw his hand.
Bless you. No wonder he's got a lot of thanks for you. And I'll say, God bless you, and God bless you all. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this time with me. Do you know, I haven't spoken to him since. Thank you for coming. Yeah. You wouldn't have normally got me here. Okay, fine. I get that. God bless you all and thank you. Good night.
Well, Nick, that was brilliant.
Hey,
I'm not saying it just because you're my son. I'm just saying it because you're a good medium.
thank you. Gonna say usually those closest to are the hardest on us.
Yeah. Okay, then. Are you ready for the closing prayer?
Oh, you want me to do more work, do you?
Yeah.
All right, then. No rest for the you-know-what's-it. Friends, thank you for joining and sharing in the humour and the upliftment, and a start to a new and prosperous year that we will make new and prosperous. And we will take the memories of all of those that we have shared our lives with us wherever we go. Remember that. Let's now give thanks, as that's why they call it praise. As we say, Great Spirit, Father, Mother God, we thank you for having brought us together in common purpose and cause to prove and witness that life is indeed eternal. We thank you for all the opportunities that are presented before us, given as an opportunity to learn, to grow, to find strength where we thought there was weakness, to find knowledge where we thought there was ignorance, and to give hope where we thought there was nothing but pain and fear. We know that this journey that we walk on may sometimes be tumultuous and difficult. We know that sometimes we may feel abandoned. But when we look upon our lives, let us always remember that those times in our lives when we see only one set of footprints remind us, Great Spirit, that we are carried, not alone. And so, as we go out into the world, Great Spirit, let us share that message. Let us share that growth. Let us share that hope. And let us remember, as ever and always, as we ask for a blessing to be placed on each person here present, that no matter how difficult the path, we ask you not to move the mountain. Just give us the strength to climb. In your name, and forever, in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Do you wish to know who the medium is next week?
Oh, I think we need to know who the medium is next week, don't you?
It is you.
You should have had a gladioli.
I know, I haven't got one.
So for those that did not see the end result of that, our medium next week, and it's been a while since she served and graced our platforms as medium, so it's really quite exciting. Our medium for next week is none other than Reverend Lynn Gibb de Swarte. In actual fact, I think the last time you served us as medium, you even had a different name. That's how long ago it is. Talking of weddings and everything, I was flicking through and found a picture of that the other day. I've lost a bit of weight since then. The jowls ain't so puffy. I didn't need to feel spirit input from that. So yes, Reverend Lynn will be our medium next week. Do tune in.
No, visit.
And yes,
Come and
tune
visit.
in if you're more than 25 miles away. However, if you're less than 25 miles away, here is a statement from the Archbishop and aide to the Principal Minister. Get your butts in Littleport Village Hall and come and experience the love, the laughter, and the upliftment for yourselves. We love it, don't we?
And we'll give you tea and coffee.
And
And
yes,
biscuit.
and as it's been shown, if you like a proper cup of tea that you can stand a spoon up in, you get it right here because it's lovely. And I love my cup of tea. So yes, we've got biscuits that were donated, and in actual fact, we were donated a £20 gift voucher from Sainsbury's from one of our lovely watchers at home. Hello. which we will be replenishing the cupboard with as well. So lots of exciting stuff. And yes, in actual fact, on the 20th, we've got Dora Sheridan. On the 27th, we've got Sandra Shelley. And then in February, the 3rd, so long as her wrist is not giving her no jip, we'll have Barbara Price back. On the 10th of February, we've got Shelley Ewell. And on the 17th of February, we've got John Ennis. And on the 24th of February, we will have Daniel Wright back. It's been a while since he came. And I'm not going to go through the whole year, though. But, you know, it really is quite exciting. We've got a lot of really good friends, some new names, and a lot of excellent mediums this next year coming. Good friends who've supported us through thick and thin, and new friends who will become part of the family, just like you all are. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I must just say that we got Carlos on the 3rd of March because he wanted to be here for your dad's birthday.
Yes. So Carlos is our medium on the 3rd, which is Dad's birthday, and he wanted that one specifically. So exciting times, my friends. And so it's time to say goodnight to all of our friends at home, because we're going to go and have a raffle. But before I do, everyone watching at home wants to see something, don't you now? Now remember to get ready with the function print screen if you want a copy for yourself. Because tonight's Bully's special prize is right here. There we go. I'll stand it still for a second. Function print screen, there we go. Well, you can pause it and have a look for the images yourself. And somebody's going to win that. And of course, many people have asked, how do I come and win that? Well, you've got to get it and buy a raffle ticket. So get it and buy a raffle ticket. And on that note, friends, let's say goodnight to our online community, who will get the bottles here, I promise you. Good night and God bless. Good night. We'll see you all soon. God bless. See you next week.
Oh no. Oh, you might want to have your birthday now.